and try to maintain your balance as best you can. When you can't, and that's part of the human condition, stop. Do what I did yesterday. I simply pulled the plugs out of, I sometimes picture my infrastructure as like one of these old-fashioned telephone boards where the operator is saying one ringy-dingy, two ringy-dingies, and pulling the cords out. And then I'll just sit there until I know that I'm safe again. I could go out in public. So I'm going to really encourage all of you to monitor what you're doing and how you're doing it, and go forth with this equanimity and this sense of balance and just a little more insight about how you're creating balance or mayhem for another. I had an interesting situation over the weekend. I went to a social gathering. I'm a social being, but I just don't go to many gatherings. I haven't been comfortable in a social gathering probably since they were first introduced to me at the tender age of 5 or 6, when you're now having to go to birthday parties. But I went to this gathering, and actually it was quite lovely. And I was sitting next to a gentleman, and he asked me with great interest, what do I do? And I'm trying to explain in like 3 words or less something so boundless with there's no description for people like myself. So I'm fumbling along and, saying, well, he's like, what do you do all day? Well, people call me and, I talk to them. Well, what do you talk to them about? For that instant, I absolutely could not think of one thing that I talk to people about. It's like this white board came in front of me, and it was really rather humorous. Probably if I had known him a little better, I would have said, I have no idea what I talk to these people about. But if he's listening, hello, I will tell you some of the things that have occurred since that I thought, well, that's what I talk about. So one of the things was, for example, dear friend who's gone through many surgeries. I've mentioned her before on the air. She phoned yesterday, and she too was having a very challenging day with the healing process. And the fact that this isn't quite going the way it should, and this is taking too long, and I can't walk the dog, and I can't do this. And so what we spoke of was the simplicity of healing takes time. And you have to honor that. And you have to allow it. Now, I can say in 3 sentences what we spoke of, but there was a loving conversation for several minutes. And then another conversation, which actually this gal called me early this morning with, here was her first words out of her mouth, and we've all put them out of our mouth. Arrgh! We've all been there at this season, probably more than we'd like to be there. And the was about an in-law who landed on her doorstep at 10 o'clock last night. By that time, an in-law is no longer an in-law in my book. They're an outlaw. Nobody gets to land on your doorstep unannounced at 10 o'clock at night. So this gal was, what do we do? How do I handle this? And all of a sudden, I realized that I had given years ago such a wonderful remedy for us to forgive one another, because she needed to come pretty promptly to forgiving this mother-in-law. It was a mother-in-law. I'm so careful. But to forgive the mother-in-law, because atrocities have gone on and on and on, year in and year out, with carelessness and thoughtlessness and lack of respect toward the person who's now got the mother-in-law on her doorstep. And so where do you go with that in a conversation? And it dawned on me something I had actually pulled up yesterday in a situation that was as tricky as this, with somebody who's pushed your buttons once too often, and you're out of sorts with it, and you really want to kind of shake them by the shoulders and push them away and say, stop. But it's not appropriate. So yesterday, this ancient chant came in front of my memory, and it's a wonderful chant. And yesterday, I could chant it a few times, but by the time the encounter came that I was not looking forward to, everything was peaceful, happy. We were at one. I was like, wow, that works. So I can tell you, sometimes you don't have to be chanting for like hours on end. It's the intent, do the best you can with it, and go on, get on with it. So this is the chant, and it is, I will speak it slowly, and then I'll actually spell it for you, because it's one of these chants that takes poison, and it's an alchemy, and it changes the poison into light or something palpable, swallowable. So it's a wonderful chant. And here it is. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And once more. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. So here's how you spell it. And I think it's the real spelling, actually. It's not phonetic. N is in Nancy, A for Apple, M for Mary. That's the first word. Hyphen. M for Mary, Y, O-H-O, and that's pronounced Mio, dash, Renge, R-E-N-G-E, R-E-N-G-E, dash, K-Y-O, K-Y-O. If any of you didn't catch it, well then you either have to call in at 321-806-3159 or email me, purpleportal777@gmail.com, and I will send it to you. But it's pretty darn powerful, and it transforms. Here's what it's laced, if you will, or it's encoded with the capacity to transform any suffering. And I think much of our suffering during this season is going to be from people that have become a little careless, push our buttons the wrong way, and or not so careless, intend to harm you. So it's your job to be an alchemist and change that. You need to get rid of the poison. You don't want to swallow the poison, you don't want to empower the poison, and you don't want to pick it up. So she actually emailed me later in the day, right before I was coming to the studio, and said, why don't you talk about that today? Because I have a sense everybody needs it. And I think she's right. Okay, I do want to remind you, I have a lovely website, and it's become even more lovely over the week since I was here last, because my guardian angel, Jeff, gave me some very wonderful little pointers, which I bravely pointed out then to my web designer. And that darn thing is looking spiffier. It's going to get spiffiest, but it's looking spiffier. So I encourage you to go to higherconsciousness.com, higherconsciousness.com. Reason being, I have on that website my menu of services for things that I'm doing right now. And they are happy, delightful things that either you gift yourself, or you gift a friend, or you gift an enemy, or a sibling. But the angel messages are described on that website, as are other services that I offer. And one particular service that I have this year is because I'm a numerologist. I was offering to those who have done some inner work, kind of a bumped up, deeper look, going into the energy field of the numbers. And this gal and I spent some quality time together as she had a consultation on Sunday. And we both thought, we can get through this lickety-split. That'll take about a half hour. No way. The number itself almost peeled apart so I could see its frequency from such a different aspect and perspective that by the end of it, she could hardly talk and was like, whoa, I'm glad we went for an hour. So please look on that website. There's some lovely, lovely gifts for yourself this year. You know, sometimes it's enough of the mani and the pedi and the facial and the, maybe you need a gift for the spirit. What a concept. Maybe you should give a gift for the spirit. Many people give the gift of the angel message to siblings and friends, and it's just lovely because I never know what's going to be said, but all of a sudden something's being said. So happy thoughts right there. I do want to touch on the fact that we are energetically in the Chinese calendar. We're in the water cycle. We are in the rat month, and this is going to trigger fears on the downside. On the upside, it triggers every happy social event you could possibly conjure up. But on the downside, because it's connected with the kidney energy, the emotion that's connected with the kidney chi is fear. So you could have some bone issues at this time, your bone marrow system. See, here's the advantage of an acupuncturist knowing you very well. During this season, the kidney chi can actually be strengthened. Some of the very, very few, but some of the excellent Chinese masters, they won't treat a certain disease out of its season because they don't feel it has as much power. The kidney has to do with the regenerative system, your ability to regenerate things. You can regenerate your nervous system, your digestive system. That's your job. See, I don't understand. I think this is why I don't socialize a lot. I don't see people have time to do that. It's your job to take care of your temple correctly and live in such a way that people benefit from it, that they can stand up a little straighter because you're in their energy field. This cycle of kidney, it is not only is the regenerative system, it's the reproductive system. So here's the cycle where I have a dear gal pal who's, unfortunately, she was raised in the United States, and I say that in this respect. She was fed Gardasil as a teenager, and now she's having a great difficulty getting pregnant. And they spew this craziness that Gardasil is going to prevent cancer. No, take your chances with that. If you want to get pregnant, you don't want to have that junk. That stuff is not so good. So this indeed would be the ideal time for this gal to actually go get some help for the reproductive system. And I don't necessarily mean, go the whole pathway of this $100,000 routine. No, get some good energy work and see if that system can't be pulled up correctly. And for those of you gals out there, you know darn well, if you're trying to get pregnant and you can't, well, then the next thing that's going to come in is fear. The fear will eclipse the I can't to I'll never. And then there's a desperation and such a deep woundedness and pain. And I believe, personally, all this can be adjusted and amended in a way that will help you. The kidney chi is also the primal life energy. So when you've got too much fear, you're actually shorting out your life force, your life energy. So you will feel like you're dragging all month. Well, if you're feeling like you're dragging, I would suggest do a very comprehensive inner look to see where are you stuck in fear? What's happening? A beautiful gal called me actually both yesterday and today. And I could hear yesterday she was so stuck in fear because her significant other, I don't know what the heck he had eaten, but it wasn't pretty. And apparently he's been down